And welcome back. It is Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO. I'm Chad Holmes. The time is 7:52. And for our first three segments this morning, we are hearing a conversation I had yesterday with the Women's Community Executive Director, Jane Graham Jennings. Had our first segment at 7:22. Continuing our discussion, and again, continuing along with the theme about how the culture is leading to some dangerous situations for women and others in our communities. But here's more of the conversation with Jane Graham Jennings.
It is absolutely a cultural shift that we need to have happen. So some of the kind of backlash that you're talking about is there was a number of things that happened, and one we can point to is the Me Too movement that really exploded.
Right.
And women were just coming forward, me too, me too, me too. Because again, we don't talk about sexual assault. We don't talk about the way women are routinely harassed just for being. And so that shook people to their core. And so then it kind of came like, well, what am I allowed to say? Men in particular. If I can't say this, what can I can't even say anything anymore. So when we start pointing out, if you are having trouble talking to a female, you have a problem with understanding communication. Because if you were saying things before that you feel you can't say now, then what you were saying was inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of language and what happened is it took like the culture of men, shook them and made them vulnerable. And that the pushback is, we don't want to be vulnerable. We're going to push back on this because we should be able to say whatever we want to say because we haven't given space to help men learn how to communicate. It's a huge cultural shift that we need. And it starts with the way we raise boys. It starts with allowing full emotions. There's a number of groups, male-headed groups of anti-violence work. One in particular that we work closely with is called A Call to Men. And it's specifically around, this isn't about shaming, but it's about how do we create a culture in which men can be fully human. That's where we make the shift, because when men are allowed to be vulnerable, they don't hurt other people. They don't feel that the only way that they can stay in a relationship is by controlling that relationship. So it's a huge shift that we need as a culture. There has to be accountability as well. So part of the reason why I still have a job is the incentive to change is less. There is no strong incentive for people to stop causing harm.
It was roughly 5 years ago, Me Too. Roughly
Right,
5
right.
years ago. And I think you kind of hit it on the head that there has been a backlash. And let me ask you this. What is the effect of having somebody like Mr. Trump as president of the United States? Because obviously he has, I think, run as a alpha male. I don't think they would use the term for themselves, but toxic masculinity. I mean, they're proud of their masculinity, and I think in many ways within our society, I think there's issues involved with a lot of the policies. But I think one of the ways that could be as dangerous as any is this idea again of going back to, when you talk about going back, and I think I think a lot of what they talk about is going back to a way that men could be men and women would be women and all that. How much of effect is leadership within a country in terms of the mindset of the folks that you see on a daily basis?
Well, when you have a leadership that enables being mean, when you have leadership that doesn't apologize, those are things that we get very concerned about because, again, when we're dealing with perpetrators of abuse, they feel entitled to do that. And they don't think that they're doing anything wrong. In fact, their victims owe them. And that is dangerous when we have situations in which people believe they are entitled to harm. They don't have to apologize, that they do nothing wrong. That's very concerning. We're kind of seeing this movement. There's a number of things that are coming out that are very concerning. One of the ideas that have been coming out is that there's been some comments from faith leaders in the White House that say women should submit to men. That is dangerous because women die when they submit to men. They are killed because there is nothing for them. These are really dangerous avenues. There's taken away financial independence for women. That is also being floated out there, that women should stay home, not have financial independence, everything tied to a husband. And what we know from our history, the reason I have a job is because women die when that happens. Women are killed or commit suicide. So the suicide rates, if we look in the history of what happened when women were tied completely to a husband, when we started, it's the no-fault divorce that they're trying to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
When women don't have any options, the suicide rate declined after women were able to leave relationships that were harmful. Because when you have no options, you either get killed or you kill yourself.
Real quickly, there's in fact, earlier in the week, I heard a story about some floating the idea of giving $5,000 for people to have more children. I imagine that, again, that goes back to the idea of the traditional family, the traditional way of a woman being just a mother, the idea of we need more babies. I imagine that's not good policy, is it? And it's not good for women or men, I would imagine.
There's so many things that are concerning to me about that. Again, that we don't have any value in women's contributions to all of our professions, in all of the things that women have helped create in every area in our country and in our world. So it denies that. The other thing is, if we really care about children, we would take care of them, but we don't. We don't have policies that provide for childcare. We don't have policies that provide for health care. We don't have policies that keep women and babies healthy and safe. And $5,000, I don't know if anyone's paid attention to what a hospital bill is after you give birth, but what is $5,000 going to do for a family? What we need is affordable housing. What we need are things that people can afford, families can afford. $5,000 isn't going to help anyone. If we want healthy people, we need to have policies that create healthy environments for people to live in.
We will have more with Jane Graham Jennings, the executive director of the Women's Community of Wausau, coming up at 8:22. Coming up after the top of the hour, news and information, more of Pat Kreitlow, Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, here on 98.9 WXCO.